In the last 24 years, Vladimir Putin has completely rebuilt Russian political system. He's made it the absolute rule country, and he's now the absolute ruler of Russia, thanks to his system called vertical власти. In English, it's the vertical of power. Vladimir Putin has built it, but he had help. Today I start the series of live streams revealing those behind the curtains, those who helped design and construct the vertical of power, the political system that has caused the war with Ukraine and destroyed Russia. Howdy, howdy everyone, my name is Konstantin, welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. As usual, no propaganda, BS or lies here, only truth, common sense and logic. And some emotions too, because I am a human being after all. Russia. Today's live stream will consist of 3 parts: the message, then discussion in the chat, and the usual prayer at the end. To those who don't know much about Russia, it appears to be a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. A very famous saying. It really is not. If you study Russia, you begin to understand it. The people and their roles in country's history, their actions, their motives, and you begin to understand Russia's today, why and who is responsible, what's happening today. And this is what I want to do, to shed light on things Russia that you probably haven't heard before. Let's talk of the people behind the curtains. Couple things before I start. What I will talk about today in a few further live streams on this topic is not easy. Not easy to explain in simple words and not easy to comprehend. This isn't your basic stuff. This is a lecture. Advanced Russian politics 403, so to speak. But if you stick to the end, you will know more of the history of Putin's power, the political system, than most Russians do. Okay, shall we start? The very first thing I'd like to start with, before learning anything, you should know that Russia is not a country with a culture of loners. Not the country of self-made men and women. It's the country of organizations, groups, families, and clans. One of the things that they teach at Russian child at a Russian kindergarten is the adage, a proverb, один в поле не воин. In English it means, if alone in a field, one is not warrior. One must be a part of something bigger to be a force. So don't forget that. Right at the very early age, Russians are taught that they cannot succeed alone. They cannot make themselves. And that's true, they cannot, with very rare exceptions. Vladimir Putin is a perfect symbol of that, perfect embodiment of this group culture. He came from the very powerful group, the KGB, that he joined being a student. At the KGB, he learned everything about life. Then he joined another very powerful group, Leningrad mayor and his people. Then he moved to Moscow to join the group of the president of Russia. Then he was made the president himself and built his own group. He started from building the group, his own group, but he ended up building something much more grand, a new political system, a system of balance of power, political checks and balances of very twisted kind of the largest country in the world. He made himself the CEO, the chief executive with absolute power, concentrated in his hands. And that's the system he has built. But around him, or under him, there's a large group of people ensuring he remains the CEO for as long as he wants and as he can. And this group, the government and the Siloviki and his personal close circle, they use any means to maintain the political status quo of, no, I think it's called status quo, yeah, of his system as he wants. So, Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Putin built that system, but he didn't design it. He had help of other people. Vladimir Putin, he had help of quite a few people, other people. And today I want to tell you of one such person, the chief architect of the vertical of power. His name is Gleb Pavlovsky. You know, if you ask any Russian who Gleb Pavlovsky is, you most likely you will not get an answer. Who? Pavlovsky? The name rings a bell, but I can't remember who he is exactly. That kind of answer you most likely would receive. Pavlovsky is the name of yesteryear. And no wonder, the guy's been out of the Russian media for the past 15 years or so, and he is dead now. But the name should not be forgotten. That name should be coined in the pantheon of shame of Russia. Gleb Pavlovsky, and this is the guy, he was a close companion of Vladimir Putin, polittechnolog, a political technologist, if to translate from English word to word, the exact translation. But in English, it would be right to say a political strategist and consultant. He was the guy who helped Boris Yeltsin to get reelected in '96. He made Vladimir Putin elected for the first time in 2000. But more importantly, he helped design Russia's political system, the vertical of power, or at least the milestones of it. Putin took the blueprints of what Pavlovsky designed and drew and built it. Gleb Pavlovsky was a very popular name in Russia in the 90s. Um, in the late 90s and early 2000s, okay, he was ousted from the Kremlin and from Russian politics in 2011 and died in his own bed in 2023. He is mostly forgotten by all except for those who study Russian politics and perhaps the old school reporters or people who knew him personally. But who is Gleb Pavlovsky? I'll give you a short summary of where he came from and his history. I'll try to be very short, and then I'll explain in more details of how he helped build the vertical of power. Um, Gleb Pavlovsky was born in what now is Ukraine, Odessa. Back then, it was the Ukrainian Republic of the USSR, and the year was 1951. He graduated with a degree in history, taught history in high school. He was a teacher. From his younger years, he had a problem with the USSR. He didn't like how it was organized and managed. He was a rebel, an intellectual, and a Soviet political dissident. He made friends with philosophers and other fellow dissidents. As a form of protest, he quit teaching. He went to Moscow and he became carpenter. He quit teaching altogether. Was a very odd situation back in the USSR because carpenter was the lowest job you could get. Um, in the USSR, uneducated manual labor. Uh, same for being a plumber, an electrician. No, a history professor or history teacher was much higher in the ranks of you know Russian Soviet society back in the 70s, even in the 80s. But he, it was kind of form of protest. He quit and he just downshifted, as they say now. Um, Simultaneously, Pavlovsky was an active member of Soviet Union's dissident movement, and in 1982, he was arrested, charged with illegal political activities, and sentenced to 3 years in exile in Siberia. Not prison, but in exile. He was very well known in the circles of dissidents. Andrei Sakharov knew him, his wife, pretty much all the dissidents. When Pavlovsky was freed, he moved to Moscow. That happened in 1986. Perestroika began, and that was his lucky ticket. Pavlovsky immersed himself in this new environment of informal political activism. For the first time in history, it was allowed in the USSR. He became one of the founders of the Club of Social Initiatives, the first legal political club in Moscow, where activists of various, uh, you know, walks of life met and interacted. It was a political intellectual club, so to speak. This new political crowd was very popular, hip, among intellectuals, business people, reporters, even officials. Um, it was a small world back then, and Pavlovsky soon met many people. Like Valentin Yumashev, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, Grigory Yevlinsky, Pyotr Avin, Anatoly Chubais. He even met young Alexander Dugin, future Putin's ideologist, and I'm gonna make the second live stream about that guy. I'm gonna dedicate a live stream to him. All of those people, right here on picture, Pavlovsky standing right next to Grigory Yevlinsky, Russia's one of the major politicians, the founder a political party called Apple, and he founded it with Pavlovsky actually, and he's still on the political stage now. He was, he's one of the few heavyweight politicians. So Pavlovsky pretty much knew everyone, and all of those people I mentioned, they were to become big political figures of the future of Russia. There, Pavlovsky also met George Soros, an American businessman who was taking a great interest in the USSR and then in Russia. And Soros hired Pavlovsky pretty much on the spot. He liked the guy, and Pavlovsky ended up working for Soros for 2 years. Then, according to Pavlovsky, it became boring and he quit. He co founded Russia's first business newspaper called Kommersant. Now it's the biggest business newspaper in Russia. It has been for over 25 years. It's still there. I read it every day. And he co founded with a fellow named Yakovlev. In the early 90s, the networking started giving results. Gleb Pavlovsky was invited to help to sell the economic reformation to ordinary Russian people. Yegor Gaidar was the chief economist. He was invited by Boris Yeltsin to transform communist system into capitalism. Okay, so Yegor Gaidar and his team decided to reform Soviet economy, Russian economy. So his team, including Chubais and other um, people, their thing was they considered regular people stupid, and it's a known fact. They thought that regular people would not understand the reforms and they would never support what Igor Gaidar and his people were doing. So they brought in Pavlovsky to help package the idea and sell it to the people so they wouldn't protest. That was how Pavlovsky, the political advisor, was born. He did well. He did what he was hired to do. Um, he did well. Um, he did brilliantly, actually. The reform did not turn out to be a great success, but it surely was sold to ordinary people. And at that time, he was noticed and invited by his friend Yumashev, then already Boris Yeltsin's chief of staff and son in law, to help with Yeltsin's presidential campaign in 1996. See, when Pavlovsky met Yumashev, who was in 86, and Yumashev was just a small time journalist, and they met on some kind of a protest against Soviet system. 10 years later, Yumashev played one of the key roles in Russia. He was son-in-law of Yeltsin, and he was the chief of staff. So Boris Yeltsin was facing re-election in 1996, and Pavlovsky founded a political advising firm called the Foundation of the Effective Politics. It was used to help get Yeltsin re-elected. Pavlovsky right there, you can see. If you look at the left, you could see the academician Sakharov, the legend of Russian dissident movement, and Pavlovsky behind, right next to him. Getting Yeltsin re-elected was a very dirty job. Pavlovsky used black PR for the first time in Russian history. For example, his firm put stickers in form of red flags on most residential buildings in Moscow, and those stickers would read, "This building is to be nationalized after the presidential election." That's how they were scaring people not to vote for the communists. Of course, it was fake. Pavlovsky's firm produced fake videos with actors playing communist political party members burning books and newspapers. And then it was shown on national TV. Um, the firm claimed, well, they produced materials claiming that the communists were preparing a military coup against Boris Yeltsin, acting president, which was, of course, not true. A complete fake. So Pavlovsky invented and introduced fake news in Russia. He was never clean in his life, and he just followed the money, basically. And towards the end of his life, he admitted that his firm did things so dirty that he was ashamed even to recall them. So Yeltsin's elections in 96 made the name for Gleb Pavlovsky. Again, this is Boris Yeltsin and Sakharov for you and everyone. He became famous. Famous, famous, famous. He became number one in the industry, the political consultant star in Russia. Russian Roger Stone on steroids. And he kept on growing because he had lost for, power, I guess, for money for being famous. By the end of he became number one in the industry. The By the end of 98, Pavlovsky had entered a state of technological madness, as he recalled himself. Um, he was confident that he could get anyone elected for anything. According to Pavlovsky, I quote, I didn't care. I thought that I had a vehicle that would get anyone elected. Name a deceased person, a corpse. We will make him a design, embed him, and he would be elected. Unquote. In Pavlovsky office, there was a large map of fears. It showed what people in different regions of Russia were afraid of, feared. Again, I quote Pavlovsky. Leningrad region was absolutely depressed. That's around St. Petersburg. It was laying absolutely at the bottom economically, without any economic movement, without money. People were afraid of civil war. And other regions of Russia had different fears. I end quote. And Pavlovsky used those fears skillfully to play on those fears. He didn't care. He helped people who paid get elected. In 1999, Pavlovsky was in the very epicenter of the political life. He had friends everywhere. He was connected. He was a political consultant star, and he was close to Yeltsin's family. He was working for them. And he was doing mostly what he knew best, black PR. And Yeltsin's family was attacked by the media, the parliament, and the people, and for a very good reason. Yeltsin did not function well. He couldn't walk straight. He couldn't speak straight. People would hold him under his elbows, his family members, and few believe that he was not sober one day in the last 3 years of his presidency. His family was running Russia, not the president. And everyone started attacking them for that. I made a video explaining what the family was in Russia. I'm going to put a link right here. Check it out. And Pavlovsky started defending Yeltsin's family for a coin, of course. I quote Pavlovsky again. The media introduced the propagandistically successful but dirty concept of the Yeltsin's family. The family, meaning the mafia family. This is where it became personal. And the war began. And I convinced myself that it was necessary to save the old man at the same time to introduce the new regime. End quote. And at that time, Pavlovsky, by his own admission, was ready to justify almost everything. He even proposed the family to impose a state of emergency and give the president dictatorial powers for the first time in Russia's history, not the USSR's history. Pavlovsky did a very good job. He was behind formation of a political party called the Unity, created shortly before parliament elections. And he got the party elected into Russian parliament. The political party was a puppet created artificially to support the future successor of Boris Yeltsin. Later, that party was renamed into the United Russia, and it's still supporting Boris Yeltsin's successor. Pavlovsky met Putin in 1998. The rumors have it that Pavlovsky even pitched Putin's name as a possible successor. That's unconfirmed. That's just rumors. The following year, Pavlovsky was behind Putin's presidential elections. Gleb Pavlovsky came up with this narrative of the election. It was pretty simple but straightforward. The young athletic leader who doesn't drink, he leads the country into the third millennium. And he's nominated not by aging Yeltsin, but by the people. Even though Putin wasn't the outsider, he simply moved from one seat to another one in the Kremlin because at the time he was the prime minister of Russia. He was made prime minister, uh, that with a goal to be made the president. Putin was not a father figure for Russians, but an older brother, kind of ready to support, listen, help, and take responsibility. That's something that Yeltsin failed to do. Okay, and people were looking for a figure like that, and it worked. Using all the deceiving techniques available, and Pavlovsky helped got Putin elected. This is a pretty famous picture taken right after the announcement that Vladimir Putin won the elections. You can see young Vladimir Putin, the head of his campaign, Dmitry Medvedev, and Pavlovsky to the left, but he's still right there with Voloshin, the chief of staff of Boris Yeltsin back then. You know, Pavlovsky is there in the front row, one of the architects. Look at this picture because, once again, to be fair, Pavlovsky was not the only one. There was a team, a large team. Remember, I told you Russia doesn't have a culture of loners. But Gleb Pavlovsky, along with the chief of staff Alexander Voloshin, that bald guy right to the left of him, played the major role in getting Vladimir Putin elected. And Putin became the president. And Gleb Pavlovsky became famous and powerful. He became known in Russia as the man who got Putin elected. Now, if you asked any Russian then in 2000, who is Gleb Pavlovsky? They would tell you straight away. I was living in the USA in the time, and Pavlovsky was the name known even in America back then. And the following period is probably most interesting, most for Pavlovsky in his life, and most tragic for us, for Russians. But before I get there, I want to once more, to thank you all, those of you who turn in to watch me every single day, the sponsors, the patrons, those who bought coffees at buymecoffee.com. The support shows that you value my work highly. Thank you so much. Please know that it's the most powerful positive feedback I can get. It inspires me and gives me energy. It tells me what I'm doing something right. No, it's not just the coffee that you're buying, it's the feedback, the most positive feedback I can ever get. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Since 2000, Gleb Pavlovsky started playing a much bigger role in the Russian politics. He started, he was not just a political strategist anymore, he was it of Russian politics. Many believe that he formed the opinion in Putin's head that the independent media, especially the TV channel called NTV, that criticized Pavlovsky a lot, and he didn't like it personally. So he, put this opinion into Putin's head that NTV were enemies who wanted to ruin Vladimir Putin's political career, and they needed to be destroyed. And they were destroyed soon. NTV first, and then everyone else followed. And now Russia doesn't have independent media. Gleb Pavlovsky, thank you very much you for that idea that you whispered to Putin. Pavlovsky came up with an idea to publicly punish two oligarchs to show Russian people that the era of Yeltsin, the era of old regime is gone, and now is a new political era for Russia. And so let's punish two oligarchs. And Putin noted, And Mikhail Khodorkovsky was thrown to prison for 10 years soon after. And Vladimir Gusinsky, the creator of NTV TV channel, was arrested and freed only when he basically gave NTV away for pennies on a dollar. He sold it. Putin started strengthening the federal power, his one power in one hands, in his hands. And Pavlovsky was one of the only one to package Putin's unpopular decisions and sell them to everyone. Hey, Pavlovsky had experience in doing that. Pavlovsky firm became unofficial press service for Putin in the first years. And the press service for his chief of staff office. So basically, Pavlovsky spoke on behalf of Putin without having any official role in the Russian government. And no one asked why Pavlovsky was doing that. Every week, Pavlovsky prepared, they called it the newspaper for the president, where current and upcoming events were outlined. And it helped Putin to make decisions and formed his opinions on things. And Pavlovsky was doing it until 2009, even when Dmitry Medvedev became the president. Pavlovsky was asked to create and promote pro-Russian party in Ukraine in 2002. The rumors have it he failed. And on this picture, he was pictured when he was making a presentation of a new website called ukrainetoday.ru, one of propaganda tools, he was behind. Again, he failed. Thank goodness. In 2004, it was Pavlovsky who pitched Putin the idea to have governors appointed, not elected. He denied it personally, but many people confirmed that it was him. From 2004 to 2008, Pavlovsky was the most radical supporter of Vladimir Putin in Russian society. He hosted a TV show called Realpolitik, promoting Putin and his ideas. And that show was on NTV TV, that the very same channel that he whispered Putin to, destroy it, to steal it from the founder. So he came up with the idea of personificating Putin, for the first time in Russia. He came up with this idea that Putin is Russia. Putin makes all the decisions. It was Pavlovsky's, it was his idea. From mid-90s to 2011, Gleb Pavlovsky was the great cardinal of Russian and Putin's politics, incredibly powerful. And then all came to an end. 21st of April 2011, Pavlovsky was removed from the power in Russia. His pass card to the Kremlin simply stopped working. It was revoked. No one from the power has spoken to him ever since, and he went to the oblivion. The reason for that is a power play. An upcoming competitor simply outplayed him, framed him, sent somehow Putin a message that Pavlovsky was with Dmitry Medvedev, was conspiring against Putin with Medvedev, and that was enough. I quote one of Pavlovsky's old friends, Vyacheslav Igrunov. He remembers, in fact, Pavlovsky formulated his role a long time ago. In 1986, one of his last letters from the exile contained a plan. He wanted to become an advisor to the current government and reform it, change it. I unquote. And his dream was realized during Putin's time. He became a very influential, very important person. And he did reform the government. He did reform Russia. He advised on creating the new political system unseen before, the vertical of power. He made the blueprints, or at least he, outlined them. He became the grand architect, and then he was thrown to garbage. The revolution killed own child. Gleb Pavlovsky shouldn't be forgotten. He has blood of hundreds of thousands of Russians and Ukrainians on his hands, and broken lives of generations of Russians to come. Hundreds of millions of people, really. He should be well remembered. The pantheon of shame, if they ever created in Russia, should have his name somewhere on the center stage, and it should read, "The men who helped design the vertical of power and helped destroy Russia." Thank you. Friends, before I turn the live stream chat on, I would like to tell you that I used lots of materials researched by one of Russian independent media. I cannot quote the name. I could get in trouble, okay? But they helped a lot. Their materials helped a lot, and I even took one picture. If I could cite them, I would. So I hope they don't mind. Thank you so very much. It's been my message. I hope you found it interesting. Please let me know, as usual, in the comments. Thank you. I'm turning the comments on. Folks, now you know a great deal more than usual Russian about Russian politics and, who helped create Russia what it is now. Howdy, friends. Howdy, everyone. Good to see everyone. Looks like we had a mumbo jumbo with sound. I apologize. If no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, there's always something. I wish I had a sound guy sitting right next to me taking care of the sound. I don't. Folks, if you're here for the first time, I would like to tell you that this community inside Russia has the best moderation team. Lorna, Mami K, Harry Potnin, Dirk, Bob S, and Amir Fazad are the best of the best. So, a round of applause to you. Thank you. Sending you my love. And the usual suspects. Thank you so much for coming. If you want me to see your message easier, please put it in all caps and put inside rush after @ so I see it easier. And I have the first question from Ferrari guy. What kind of audio mixer do you have? Today's volume was all over the place when switching to pre-recorded content. I didn't have any pre-recorded content. It was all live stream. It's just I inserted a couple of pictures. Do you have any graphic display feeding back levels? If not, well, I kind of do, but you know what? Look, I set everything up, and I can't. It's really I'm delivering a very complicated message. I'm leading a lecture. Okay, imagine me checking the sound at the same time and concentrating on other things. It's incredibly difficult. So that's why it happens. I apologize. Leitmotif for me. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thanks Bob, good to see you. VJ John from Montreal. Sam the Legend. Keith from Hawaii. 2 minutes to midnight. Andreas, sound was terrible. Oi, 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 oi. Not good. I should delete the stream and make a video standalone. um, sound could use a boost. I hope this is better. How about this? Is it better? Veronica. Santi Prieto, buy yourself a delicious ice cream with chocolate whipped cream, but don't tell anyone. Hey, you know what? I'd rather buy 2 coffees, no sugar. I certainly don't need any ice cream with chocolate. Thank you so much, friend. Thank you. Um, this is your father's first stream, says Sheerleaf. I hope he feels better. Thank you so much. Look, I apologize. The first stream and the sound was not so great. Still not great. I don't get it. I don't know what to tell you. I don't get it. So I have this monitor, and it shows that sound is okay. You know, friends, I find this is quite important because I see my mission not just telling you what's going on in Russia, like every day. Well, I do. I have 9 news a day. I have tons of economic information and things like that. But that's not it. I gotta give you depth. That's one of the goals that I'm trying to pursue. I'm gonna educate you on where, like, why Russia has become what it has become. And I'm educating myself in the process, by the way. And this is an incredibly interesting process and incredibly interesting, you know, painful too, because I learned so many new things. I wish I could do that 20 years ago. I would have had my eyes open. I would be fighting, standing up and screaming out loud, don't do that, don't do this. But hey, we were all just sleepwalking back then, I guess. But anyway, so I feel this is incredibly important because it gives you better understanding of where Russia is coming from. Who are the architects? Who are the builders? You know, who are the puppet masters and so forth. Mr. Serge, thank you so much. How will Ukraine and Russia recover its people when the war is over? That's the question I've asked myself for the past 2.5 years. Every single day I ask it. The longer the war is going on, the harder it's going to be to recover. I don't think that Ukrainians will forgive Russians anytime soon. And for a good reason, okay? How many people were killed in Ukraine? How many families were broken apart? How many houses, cities were razed? What will Russians have to do to get the forgiveness of the Ukrainians? Well, they would have to start with repentance, saying, okay, we did this. We understand now how terrible it was. You know, we will try to do something to make up for this. But I doubt Russians will do that. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know. I think that at best the countries will be coexisting right next to each other. That's it. 2 minutes to midnight from New Zealand. Have a good day. Your content's always in depth and insightful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate your words and I appreciate the support. Let me check the fan funding. I think I missed a few things. Stefan Dueling, thank you so much. Thank you for this fascinating story about Russian spin doctor. I had no idea. He died last year, right? Yes, he died January 2023. In the last years, what he did, he was taking private orders from different big businessmen, willing to do some black PR to put dirt on the competitors or to clean up their image and so forth. He's a genius of PR. He's a genius of political consultancy. But he was not known. The only material I used extensively for this research and for this live stream was an interview made in 2018. And then he was criticizing Putin a lot. He was criticizing the government. He was criticizing the vertical of power, and he was criticizing himself. He said that he just kind of like had his eyes open when he was kicked out of the Kremlin. And he realized what he did, and he didn't like it, and so forth. But that's what happened. He did die last year. Lorraine Prasnowski, thank you so very much. Again, please forgive me for the sound. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. I really try hard. Mary Spirit, thank you. I didn't mind the sound. Do not beat yourself up. Send in love and blessings. Thanks for the money, much appreciated. But your words are priceless, and thank you for sending love. Thank you for this very heartwarming words. Thank you so much. And by the way, this spin doctor is not just the only one. Yeah, I'm gonna make a series of live streams, so you friends know the true heroes of Russia. No U.S. politics, please. Killed audio. I just killed audio. And by the way, okay, Pamela, what does it mean? Did you graduate? Warm day in the Netherlands. Pinda, howdy, howdy. Terry, howdy. Royal Oak, hello. Sound. Sounds fine to me. That thought my devices were dysfunctioning. Reminds me on Wag the Dog. Stefan. Wag the Dog is a fascinating movie. We actually watched it last Saturday at Tashkent Breakfast Club. We found this little place with a large screen and sort of like a basement bar, and we rented it for a couple hours. And we watched Wag the Dog. Turns out, a lot of people didn't watch it, and me and another guy were promoting the movie because I find it absolutely fascinating, and it's just it's so true these days. Um, Michelle, I think it's you do better when you comment just on Russia and Ukraine, as U.S. is so divided right now. But to let you know that I have not lost faith in my friend. Well, thank you so much. Quite a few people did, as it turns out. But hey, what can I do? Um, this is what I do. I report on Russia and what Russia is doing in Ukraine, and I'm not even an expert on what's happening in Ukraine now. Okay, I concentrate on what's happening in Russia, and some things that are so important that I just could not hold them inside. Okay, and once in a while I make a live stream that explains my views and opinions on something other than Russian politics, Russia, life in Russia. And then, you know what? I noticed that a lot of people are divided, and I, did a lot of talking about that. And somehow I get so misunderstood by a lot. They literally comment on things that I didn't say, but they thought I meant. So thanks for not losing faith in me. Thank you for keep on tuning in, and well, I guarantee you that I will be doing things on Russia and Ukraine. Larry, howdy, you missed a lot. Bad sound for sure. You missed bad sound. And why? To give you more details about the sound, when you were showing the photos, the sound was very loud, but are visible and talking, the sound very soft. Hope this helps. Thank you, it does. It's always something. It's one thing or another. But don't be surprised that I will redo this live stream in form of a video, and I will upload it again with a good sound. Good course on understanding Russia. Yes, thank you so much. And believe it or not, but when I was researching on Gleb Pavlovsky, I learned quite a few things myself. I didn't know his past. I didn't know that he was a part of dissident movement. He actually rented out one of his friends, and he was very criticized by the wife of Andrei Sakharov. She knew him well. But the guy who, anyway, the guy came out of prison. He had no feelings. He said that Pavlovsky was forced to do that, and so he didn't hold any grudge against him. Mary's Spirit, again, thank you so much for your kind words and for your support. Mr. Serge, don't worry too much about the sound. Some ob settings like it. Now, this what happens. I have a really good mixing board, okay, and I have software, and they do job on the sound simultaneously, both of them, and I have everything set up in the way that is proved to work right. But once in a while, the software gets updated, and I have to redo all the scenes, and then I either forget to put a mark somewhere, or this all of a sudden my software and hardware starts conflicting with each other and things like that. I mean, I am doing the whole show myself, so that's why things happen. So again, I apologize. Sound was absolutely fine in Florida. Thank you. Thank you so much. Say hello to your dad, and I hope again that he feels better. We'll keep praying for him. Sound changed when you shared pictures from your Mac. Did it add in the Mac as well? Amir, yes, it did. So that was like a conflict between software and hardware. So that's what happened. Just frustrating. Karen Barden, thank you so much. I'm so interested in Russian history since listening to your streams. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. Please keep on tuning in because I'll have more on the architects. Well, I'll give you a little hint. I will talk about another architect. His name is Alexander Dugin. And when Pavlovsky was creating the vertical of power design a long time ago, Dugin stepped in recently. Okay, he's quite the guy. He's a philosopher, and he was accepted at the West. One of members of Tashkent Breakfast Club is a history professor, and he used to attend a political club, a very small political club back in the 90s with Alexander Dugin, so he knows him personally. Just to give you a little preview, Dugin now is everything he was against 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Everything he was against, believe it or not. Okay, but so he is the modern architect of Putin's ideology, like the West against Russia. Russia is the new Rome, that type of thing. And that's going to be very interesting. Much more complicated to tell you than what I did today, but I'll try. It's going to take me a few days. I was thinking, now I came up with this idea on Sunday, and I'm thinking, great, great, because on Monday I'll do a live stream about Pavlovsky, and then I'll do second day I'll do the Dugin. It turned out that it took me twice as much time to put together this live stream about Gleb Pavlovsky, and instead of 1 day, 2 days, because it's complicated, and probably gonna take me even more time to put things together about Dugin. So Jesper Mathiansen, thank you so very much for your support from Denmark. I enjoyed your streams and insight you share. I have one question. What will happen when Putin steps back from office? Well, he will never step back. He will be carried out of the office, I think. That's a little clarification. There are so many theories, there are so many paths to take for Russia, for the government, for power, for the vertical of power when Putin is out of the Kremlin. I am also planning on making a live stream. I cannot answer you in a very simple way right now. It depends on so many things, and I'm going to give theories. It's also one of the streams I've been working on because I think peace is coming. Because Russia simply cannot function the way it has been functioning. Russia is falling apart economically, and economy will lead to other kinds of falling apart. And sooner or later, peace will be achieved, or ceasefire, or peace. But things will change. That's what I'm trying to get at. I even made a live stream. Said peace is coming. It's not probably not going to happen tomorrow, not going to happen the day after tomorrow. It's going to take some time, but it will happen. And I have two questions. First is what will happen to Russian people? Second, what will happen to power, the vertical of power? Because that is very important. The vertical of power, who will be in, like, what happens after Putin is gone? Who will be again instead of Putin? How the power clans will get along, or how they will fight, how people will take it, and so forth. So there are so many interests. I have the best job in the world, well, the most interesting job in the world. Trying to figure out these things. Terry, thank you for coming, and thanks for sponsoring 5 people, friend. Thank you so much. Barnabas Wannabe, howdy, friend. Inside Russia, will your architect series include basic overview of philosophers like Ivan Ilyin? Well, I will mention Ivan Ilyin when I will speak of Dugin, because they kind of go hand to hand. Ilyin was the forerunner of Dugin, right? Ilyin was first, Dugin was taking ideas of Ilyin. So yes. I'm not a philosopher myself. I did study philosophy, and it was one of the most interesting classes at school, in Russian school. I did not study philosophy in the West, in American university. It was mostly economics classes, things like that. But in Russia, I did study quite a bit. It was fascinating. Um, I think the philosophy classes and readings that made me who I am right now, or at least helped me made who I am. Mm, fascinating stuff. And thank you for your question. That's you know what, this community is intellectually pleasing to be with. to interact with, because your questions are amazing and your comments are great. And then again, I would like to give a shout out to the mods because they have helped to create Inside Russia community the way it is right now. See, we had so many trolls, especially in the beginning. There were so many topics people would fight on and so forth. And mods have worked real hard to keep everything clean, you know. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me go to fund funding. Um, Royal Oak, can you say some Russian names starting with Z for me? Mm, Z. Zырянов, I don't know. Zirchenko, uh, Zimovetsky. Is that good enough? Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I don't know. Tell me, how many names do you need? Chapel 0175, what's your position on NATO expansionism and the violation of the Minsk Accords on the West's behalf? How do I form this answer? You know, I had a house in Rostov-on-Don, a wonderful house, almost in the center of a city. It's just great location. Um, right next to me, there were two neighbors on one side and another side. One neighbor was an old lady. She had lots of cats. She had a garden, tons of trees, and she never really cared about her. You know, she never cut grass and things like that. And she never bothered anyone. We barely saw her. She was an introvert, staying inside. On the other side, right next to my lawn, my barbecue, another neighbor, large family. The guy died of cirrhosis of liver because all his life he had been drinking vodka. He did not work. He had one son and daughter. Son didn't work either. Daughter worked, she was a cashier, something like that. And the wife was on welfare, something, you know, getting some subsidy from the government. And all I remember, they were complaining that others were out to get them. That others couldn't stand that family, how great of a family they were. And others were trying to destroy them financially and wouldn't let them live and breathe easily. So in reality, this family, they drank all of them every single day. And they would, in the summertime, they would make a cookout and sit outside and right next to the cabinet. And I was making live streams. I could hear them. First, they were friendly to each other. Then they would start, you know, singing or something aloud. Then they would start yelling at each other. And at the end, they would start beating each other. That was a huge fight. So every single member of that family was absolutely sure that others were out to get them. Others were enemies. Others were just somehow envied them a lot. Okay, that's pretty much the same thing. I think that I think that it's just they didn't work. They all they did was drinking, you know, and they didn't live well. They didn't live happy, and that was their fault. I wasn't out to get them. Other neighbors weren't out to get them. No one else was out there to get them. And I think that Russia needs to mind its business. Russia is the richest country in the world. It has all the potential to make lives of citizens what the government is all about. It needs to make lives of citizens rich and pleasant and safe and it can do that. Okay, NATO expansionism. You tell me how NATO can expand and encircle Russia, which it pretty much has for the past, I don't know, 40, 50 years. How NATO could attack Russia if Russia has nuclear weapons? How could anyone attack Russia if it has nuclear weapons? It is insurance against anyone attacking Russia. Okay, you don't even bring up this NATO stuff. Okay, how it's expansionism and NATO is trying to destroy Russia, and it's just like those neighbors was saying that everyone was out to get them. Okay, so that's my attitude basically. Mind your own business. Concentrate on the well-being of people. Make good laws. Give people freedoms. Distribute wealth equally and fairly, okay? And people will flourish. Their lives will be happy. NATO or no NATO, Minsk Accords, no Minsk Accords, and stuff like that. Minsk Accords, Russia had nothing to do with it. It was between Ukraine and Donbass, okay? Somehow, Donbass was part of Ukraine for what, 24 years, 23 years, and no one, it didn't bother Russia. And then all of a sudden it started bothering. So, sorry, it was quite a long answer. What did I miss? Nothing. Vitaly, you should have your moderators message you while you're streaming. I cannot do that. I cannot pay attention to many things at once. I either live stream and tell, or I, look for the messages. That's, um, what I do is I ensure that there are no message sound problems. I just turn the sound on, like I'm gonna do right now, so I could hear myself, and I kind of figured it was okay. So, but it was some weird. Guy, I agree with you. And the thing is, Russia was not even supposed to get involved in the first place. If it wasn't for Russia's involvement, and the thing is, it's official, it's out there. Igor Girkin Strelkov, he admitted so many times that if it wasn't for him and his gang, armed gang sent from Moscow into Slaviansk and Donetsk, then, Donbass would remain Ukraine. So it was the guy who was born and raised in Moscow, Girkin, the guys in Borodai went and started stirring up Donbass, okay? And then they had help, and then they had financing. So if Russia stayed out of Donbass, then there wouldn't be no need for Minsk Accords, okay? Friends, let's not talk about American politics and English politics as well. About Brexit and just the Englishmen have a right to figure out things on their own. Brexit, no Brexit, it's between them, okay? Time reminder. Oh, shoot. Thank you, just saw it. Where's the collapsible chair? Towards T. The chair is right here. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable sitting in that chair anymore. I like this one better. Um, Thank you so much. Thank you, Share Leaf. Thank you. Hang on. Friends, that's it. Thank you so much. Again, I'm gonna redo this stream as a video, and I'm gonna upload it. So watch it again with better sound. Probably we'll do it on Saturday because that's the time on when I just do a private live stream for patrons and sponsors. By the way, if you're not patron or sponsor, become, and you will have a chat every Saturday with our community of patrons and sponsors. So it's fun. Thank you so much. Friends, I invite everyone to join me in prayer. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's do it. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for putting food on our tables and roofs over our heads. Thank you for surrounding us with people who love us and who we love. Please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and peaceful, and give us wisdom to raise our children the way that when they grow up, they will make this world a better place and will not fight in any wars, just love each other. For now, please keep our children safe and healthy. Dear Lord, please help Ukraine. The country needs peace. The country needs life, normal life back. The country needs to see death every day. Please help stop the bloodshed. Reach out and touch those men and women who are responsible and capable of making that decision. Fill their hearts with love so they wake up from the lethargic sleep and make the decision to stop the bloodshed. Please help every single Ukrainian who has been affected by this terrible tragedy. Answer their prayers and make their wishes come true. Dear Lord, please help my country, Russia. Assemble your army of strongest angels with sharpest swords and have Saint Michael lead that army and send them to this earth to get rid of the demons who we know by their faces and by their names. Send your army to send your angels to help good Russians to run Russia and make it peaceful, loving, and respecting. Dear Lord, please send safe travels to everyone traveling. Please send help to everyone who is in danger in high waters right now. Help those single mothers and fathers who are struggling raising their children, trying to make ends meet. Help those who are helping Ukrainians and help Ukrainians who are currently under attacks from the Russian missiles and weapons. Dear Lord, please help those who are sick, cold, hungry, homeless, jobless, depressed, losing their faith, not feeling well about themselves, not feeling well about their lives, betrayed, crying, and feeling lonely. Please reach out and touch the heart of every person in need. Fill it with love. Show everyone that you have not left them. You are with them, loving them, watching every step they take, helping them. Please help everyone in need. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together in this community and pray every day. Thank you for everyone who is praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Answer everyone's prayer, make everyone's wish come true. Thank you so much, dear Lord. And I would like to ask you to help those who need your help. They are Ann Larson and her daughter Hannah, Jeffrey S. and his family, Alex from Albuquerque, Mark Rutan, Tom W., J.R. McKim, Frank in Texas, Gaping with Gary, Lisa, Harry Podnan and his family, Terry Carter, John McLean, Linda Trombley, Paula W., Dennis, Jason Carney, Susie Mailer, Tim Mayers, Dory, Rhonda McGillis, John, Taylor, Wayne, Dave, Don, Darla, George Ruberty, Pamela J., Meta Spencer, David Porter, his family, and everyone in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Leif, Randolph, Grace, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church, Yelena, Natasha, Michael, Jake, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Sergey, Liz, Ron Klotzer, Liz Dumbrell, Koshkin Dom, Sandra, Mike and Mike, Pathra Olson, and Joseph Obaid. Thank you so very much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Friends, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching the live stream despite sound going up and down. Again, I will re-upload it as a video. I'll make a new one because I find it important. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. I would like to remind you that you are absolutely awesome and you rock. Please come back tomorrow for Wednesday for news update, world news update as seen from Russia. And before I sign off, the usual, I'm asking you to say out loud, along with me as loud as you can, Carthago delenda est.